I want to talk more about being gentle with ourselves. The messages we tell ourselves are closely tied to how we do or don't take care of ourselves. Hey there, my name is Dr. Beth Russell, and I want to know, what would you do if you were not afraid? Right now. What would your life, your job, your relationships look and feel like if you could be unapologetically you? What's holding you back? This podcast is for anyone that wants to make a change but isn't sure where to start. Let's look inward together and let's talk about you and me, our mental health, our self-care, inner and outer selves, and all that makes us, well, us. It's time to get real, feel the feels, challenge what's holding us back, and connect. This is the Authentic and Brave podcast. Hey there. Thanks for tuning in today. In keeping with the theme of the last two episodes, we're going to wrap up the three-part series on love with talking about self-love. Taking care of ourselves is the ultimate act of self-love. So let's jump right in, and I'm going to get a little bit vulnerable here. I don't know about you, but I'm a bit tired. And if I'm really honest, by the end of the week, I'm usually exhausted. By the time Friday night rolls around, all I can think about is putting on my pajamas, my comfy slippers, ordering pizza, and watching a movie with my family. And with 3 kids, all who play sports and have their own friend groups, that rarely happens. Most Friday nights, my husband is at hockey with our youngest, and I'm carting around the older 2 to hang out with friends or to their sporting practices. On a rare occasion, my husband and I may sneak off on a quick date while they practice or go out with a friend for a quick drink. While I love those times, I also really like to be home in my PJs just relaxing. For me, those Friday nights when I get to be home are glorious. On those nights, I let down and give into a little self-care. See what I said there? I give into a little self-care. You can't see me, but I'm rolling my eyes a little bit at my words. See, I'll be really honest here. The concept of self-care bugs me. Everywhere I turn, social media, my classroom, books, research, and podcasts, we're bombarded with the messages of self-care. While the messaging is supposed to remind us to take care of ourselves, it also sometimes becomes one more thing I should do. I should rest more, drink more water, walk on the treadmill more, write in my journal. The shoulds add up, and I end up feeling shame for not being able to check every box off my never-ending list. Does this sound familiar to you at all? When I scroll through Instagram, I see all these wonderful messages of self-love, of women dancing on the beach or traveling to faraway places on retreats. And again, the messages dance, travel, connect with people. Do all of these acts of self-love and self-care. But honestly, it also reminds me that I'm in upstate New York in February, where it's gray and cold, and I don't feel much like dancing. The self-care movement is supposed to help us feel better. But for many, it can remind us that money and time are scarce. For some, it can take us to a place of not feeling good enough or overwhelm us so much that we never actually practice self-care. So that's what I want to talk about today. Self-care. Well, kind of. I want to talk more about being gentle with ourselves. The messages we tell ourselves are closely tied to how we do or don't take care of ourselves. As I've mentioned before, I struggle to slow down most days. I like to be busy and find that I am my most creative when I have a bunch of things going on. In those times, though, I also don't stop and get still very long. And then I miss listening to my inner knowing and intuition about things. And I don't rest enough. I saw a great meme the other day. It was a woman sitting on an Adirondack chair looking out at the water. It said something like, "Changing how you see rest can change everything." How about getting enough rest to engage in your day rather than engaging in your day to earn rest? My mind was blown. Right. Have you ever not gotten enough rest or sleep? How do you feel? It can ruin the entire day if we're so stuck in that feeling of, oh, I just don't have enough energy. I didn't get enough sleep last night. If you are a parent of young children, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I remember when my kids were all under the age of 5 and sleeping 6 hours a night in a row seemed like a dream. My husband and I survived on quick naps during the day, taking turns going to bed while the other stayed up to feed the baby, and a whole lot of caffeine. While those days are behind us in many ways, and we are able to sleep more often than not at night, resting and downtime with our kids' busy schedules can often seem like a luxury. The older my kids get, the more activities they want to do, the more sports practices they have each week, and the less rest we get to do at home together. It seems like many weeks between work and kids, there's no time for self-care. It's then that I need to be gentle with myself. Recently, I've realized the messages I've been telling myself about not having enough time for rest and self-care are sabotaging the opportunities I do have for them. See, there is time each day. I just have to prioritize it, allow for it, and focus on what I need. It's hard to do this, but taking a mindset of being gentle towards what I do have time for or allow is the first step. Are you a therapist looking to grow your practice and help more people in need? Look no further than Headway. Headway is the leading therapy referral platform that connects individuals with top-rated therapists in their area. By joining the Headway network, you'll have access to a steady stream of new clients who are seeking the help and support that you provide. Being a Headway therapist allows you the flexibility and support you need to promote your services and increase your visibility in the community. Joining the Headway network is easy and free. Simply sign up online, create a profile, and start receiving referrals from individuals who are seeking your expertise. Head on over to www.authenticandbrave.com/Headway to get started today. In doing some reflection in the past weeks, I realized that getting enough rest and being gentle with myself has almost always been a struggle for me. It's not surprising that even as a teen, I struggled with focusing on caring for myself and allowing myself downtime. I'll explain a little. When I was 13 years old, I attended a local retreat that would change the way I viewed the world. I grew up Catholic, and going on retreats was a normal part of our religious practices at that time. So December of my freshman year in high school, I went on a retreat called STAR. It was run by a group of volunteers who wanted teens to know that they weren't alone and to take some time out to focus on developing their own spirituality and a relationship with God. At each weekend, different people were given a theme and a topic to present through a 30-minute talk. Topics range from recovery, communication, love, and spirituality. After the first retreat, I was totally hooked. I loved spending time with other kids my age and adults who shared who they authentically were, their stories of love and struggle, and mostly a weekend of getting hugs and acceptance in a time in life when everything else was upside down. After that first year, I became a staff member of that retreat, and for the next 5 years, those weekends were a highlight of my life. At each planning weekend in October, a few months before the actual retreat, we would be assigned our talks by the leader of the weekend. And for 4 years straight, I got a talk entitled, Being Gentle with Yourself. Now looking back, it makes me smile. It's pretty obvious that the adults who I'd grown to love and admire knew something about me I didn't. I needed a lot of work on being gentle with myself. So what better way than to have to focus on it and express it to a room full of 100 or more people? I'm so very grateful to the adults in the room over those years. They shaped my teen years and my spirituality in a way I never realized until recently. Those weekends were reminders that others love me for who I am, and that all the gifts we have to share are important, and slowing down to connect to our hearts and our minds is a good thing. They taught me that taking care of myself is a necessary part of life. Those moments shared with them taught me who I am, what I need, and all about love. They encouraged me to be authentically myself, and that focusing on being gentle with myself was important. The group of loving adults taught me that self-care is about loving ourselves, knowing who we are, allowing ourselves to be authentic and brave, and that being gentle with ourselves is about how we talk to ourselves, that narrative in our own brain that sometimes can be really cruel, and turning it to a kind voice and using our own self-compassion. Allowing ourselves to slow down can be one of the greatest acts of self-love there is. Are you a fan of young adult fiction, magic, and adventure? Then you won't want to miss Kindreds, the thrilling new fantasy novel from author B.B. Russell. Join our heroine, 16-year-old Lila, after the death of her last living relative when she reconnects with a boy named Joey from her childhood who harbors a secret. Needing to know what it is, Lila follows him and finds herself in Carnival Noliana, a disappearing world of magic and wonder, hidden just beyond the veil of the ordinary that is looking for 10 new members. With Noliana set to disappear at the end of Masquerade in 4 days, Lila must decide if she should follow her heart and Joey into Noliana for good, or trust her instincts and intellect that Noliana may not be what it seems. With unforgettable characters, a battle between listening to one's head or one's heart, and heart-pounding action, Kindreds is the perfect choice for anyone who loves young adult fantasy. So don't wait, pick up your copy today and embark on an epic adventure you won't soon forget. Kindreds by B.B. Russell is now available at your favorite bookstore. Or at www.authenticandbrave.com/kindreds, KINDREDS. So what does it mean to be gentle with ourselves, and how do we do that? Being gentle with ourselves is first admitting we need rest, then being kind to our mind, and using self-compassion, empathy, and kindness when we judge or shame ourselves for slowing down. Let's look at the first point, admitting we need or simply want rest. You ever had a really busy day? One that you were just going nonstop? One where you're so busy you forget to take breaks or eat? Do you know how bad that is? And yet sometimes we do it without even thinking. Research shows that skipping breaks during the day increases stress and depletes mental energy. This probably isn't a surprise to you. But when we're exhausted, we can't focus, we don't connect well to others, we become sedentary, and we often become less creative. We need to take some time away from completing tasks to breathe and regulate our bodies, our minds, and our hearts. Being gentle with ourselves is recognizing that it's okay to slow down and take that break, and that focusing on self-care isn't a luxury, but as we said, a necessity. Next, we have to tackle our unkind mind. It's easy to convince ourselves we don't need to slow down, take that time, and if we just do one more thing, we can earn the right to rest, right? That meme from earlier. How about getting enough rest to engage in your daily life rather than engaging in your day to earn rest? When we set up self-care and self-love as something to earn, we're setting ourselves up to feel bad or skip what we need because somehow we tell ourselves we don't deserve it, but you do deserve it. We have to catch when we're telling ourselves unkind thoughts and replace them with kinder, more gentler messages and self-compassion. That place of self-compassion is key. With it, we give ourselves the same kindness and care we'd give to a good friend. If a friend said to you, "I am so exhausted and I just feel lousy," what would you say to them? Would you tell them to buck up? Stop complaining. Or would you say, "Oh, I'm sorry. How can I help?" It's okay to take a rest or take a break. Be kind to yourself. I'm pretty sure you would do the latter. So can you start doing that for yourself? Can you be kind to yourself in that way? You aren't weak for taking time out and being self-compassionate. You're being kind. Researcher Kristin Neff states that self-compassion is one of the most powerful sources of coping and resilience we have available to us, radically improving our mental and our physical well-being. Being gentle with how we feel, what we need, and what we want is staying true to our authentic self and allows us to be more present to caring for ourselves and others. It's truly an act of self-love. And couldn't we all use a little more love in our lives? If you struggle to take a rest or a break, Dr. Kristin Neff has a great exercise for taking what she calls a self-compassion break. If you'd like a printed copy of the exercise, I've created a download that can be found on the Authentic and Brave website. Head on over there and grab the download. I will also describe it for you now, and then I'll give you an example of how to apply it. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to think of a situation in your life that you're finding difficult, something that's causing you some stress. Call the situation to mind and see if you can actually feel the stress and emotional discomfort in your body. Once you do that, there are 3 things that you will say to yourself. First, this is a moment of suffering, and I am in pain. Second, suffering is a part of life. You'll then put your hands over your heart. You'll feel the warmth of it and the gentle touch of your hands on your chest. And the third question, or the third thing you'll say is, may I be kind to myself? Or what do I need to hear right now to express kindness to myself? And then you'll answer the question. So I'll go ahead and go through an example. So maybe, let's see, I'm struggling to go to work. And the thought is, gosh, I just don't want to go to work today. I feel so overwhelmed. So I'm going to take that inner thought and I'm going to say to myself, it's okay. This is a moment of suffering. It's okay that you feel overwhelmed. Suffering is a part of life, and I'm not alone in how I feel. Now I'm going to put my hands over my heart, and I'm going to feel their warmth and the gentle touch of my hands on my chest. And I'm going to say to myself, what do I need to hear right now to express kindness? And then I'm going to answer it. May I give myself the compassion that I need? May I be patient? May I learn to accept myself as I am? And then that's the end of the exercise. This practice can be used any time of day or night and will help you remember to evoke the 3 aspects of self-compassion when you need it most. So just to recap, today we started talking off a little bit about self-care, but really what we moved into was learning to be gentle with ourselves and being kind to our mind and the messages that we're telling ourselves to move to a place of self-compassion and self-love. Being gentle with ourselves starts with how we talk to ourselves, our inner dialogue, and challenging it when the negative thoughts come in and we're being unkind. And then maybe, just maybe, we can take some time out for self-care the way we want and we need it. It doesn't have to be an expensive trip or a pricey massage, but maybe it's closing your eyes for 10 minutes and meditating, or watching the birds outside your window, or giving a friend a quick call just to chat. Moments of self-love that add up to self-care. Be kind to your mind, your heart, and love yourself. That's it for this week. Please head on over to our Facebook group, Authentic and Brave, and join the community for more tips, tricks, and connection with others like you and me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for tuning in, and keep on being authentic and brave. Thanks so much for tuning into the Authentic and Brave podcast. If you want more, head over to the authenticandbravepodcast.com for show notes and sign up for the mailing list so you'll never miss an episode. If you're looking for inspiration, connection, and people like you and me, be sure to join my exclusive community on Facebook. The link's waiting for you at authenticandbravepodcast.com. This is Dr. Beth Russell signing off. See you next time.